You've got a great training, so why not turn it into a CE and get paid for it? In this session, I'm breaking down what it takes to become a CE provider, including how to host, sell, and deliver your CE content without getting overwhelmed by tech or red tape. Hey, I'm Dr. Kate Walker. Welcome to your Tuesday coaching for Step It Up members. I'm so glad you're here. I got a little bit of a cold today, so I'm going to sound a little rough, but it's all right. We're going to talk about how to become a CE provider. So let's let folks in. All right. And while people are entering, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about sort of what my goal is with this, right? I mean, I'm going to give you 30 minutes worth of stuff. So that's almost like a teaser. So Step It Up members are going to have their very own and complete webinar on this. This is sort of like, okay, I'm going to give you a how-to. And I know I just said this, so I'm going to say it in a different way. I'm going to give you a little bit of a how-to. So those of you who can grab it quick and you can get started, great. But don't worry, this summer, I want to give Step It Up members even more in-depth training on things they've been asking for. And one of the number one things I've been asked is how to turn a talk or a speech that you've given or a class that you've taught or something that you've presented into a CE. And I'll talk about that in a minute. It's a little bit more complicated than it sounds and probably more than I can go into in 30 minutes. So I'm going to do a more in-depth training on that this summer, and we'll do it in the evening. So I know it's a little bit easier for folks to attend when things are in the evening. And of course, we'll have Q&A and coaching just like we do here, because that's what we try to do for Step It Up members. So when we talk about becoming a CE provider in Texas, good news is you already are. If you want to be a CE provider, Texas changed the rules. A couple of years ago, they made you fill out a form and pay $50, which meant pretty much absolutely nothing other than they would put you on a list. And if you were on that list, then you were an approved provider. And if you took a CE from anybody who was not on that list, then in theory, they were not going to accept your certificate if they audited you. So I guess I better explain that first. You won't have to show your certificate to the board unless you are audited. And I did an episode and a training on this a few months ago because I was in fact audited. So I went through my process of how I got my stuff together. Good news, though, the board has contracted with a company to actually take all of our certificates and keep them in one place, and that starts this summer. And I think that's going to make life so much easier, and of course, we'll do a training on that. So the idea that, something weird or different has to happen in order for you to be a C provider, that's just not true. Now, if you want to be one of the 50% providers that makes you super special, that just means you need to work for an agency or a school, or you need to be a supervisor. So that would make you, I mean, I always think of it like produce. Like anybody can grow an orange, but if you want to grow organic oranges, then you have to be a certain type of farmer. So if that's your goal, is to be a certain type of provider that would help folks in your audience count your certificate for one of their 50% category, then yeah, you would need to be one of those categories. And it's easy to find. You go to the rules, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I'm not going to go into it in depth. I have done another training on that, on what all of those types of providers are. Easiest thing to do, though, is to become a supervisor, because supervisors are automatically on that list. So in other words, what is a CE provider? Well, when you go to the rules, and if you're listening to me and you're an LPC, you're going to go to 681.140. And if you are listening to me and you are an LMFT, you are going to go to 801.261. They are almost identical. And here's the thing that's missing from both. They don't tell you, meaning the rules, don't tell you how to be a CE provider. back in the day, it would tell you exactly what to do. And for instance, how long to keep those records, how, you have to take attendance, you have to do all these things. They don't do that anymore. So when that section went away, I was a little surprised, but it's still considered best practice. So when you go to the rules, again, I've given you guys trainings about, 6 CEs in that, 3 CEs in this. So if you're looking for the particulars of CEs, that is not this training. So what the rules will tell you, person who wants to become a CE provider, it will tell you the topics that you can present on. Again, forgive me, I've got a cold here. It will tell that they will accept as a CE. So when you're looking at the topics, I'm going to just read, let's go to LPC. Again, they're pretty much the same. Acceptable ethics hours include, so if you're going to give a CE on ethics, state or your topic would be on state or federal laws, practice guidelines, education designed to demonstrate or affirm the ideals and responsibilities of the profession, training or education intended to assist licensees in determining appropriate decision-making and behavior. So if you're looking for topics for your continuing education, just go to the rules. It will tell you the types of cultural diversity topics, the types of ethics topics, the types of counseling topics that you can give. And at the end of the day, they really just want to know that the topic that you're going to present is about counseling and mental health, right? I do a lot of business training, but I make them CE worthy because I make it relevant to how you practice, not just how you pay your taxes. I want it to pertain to how you deliver services and how you make decisions. So as you're thinking about topics as a CE provider, drill down in the rules. And then if you have something you're really good at, like if your past career, you were an accountant, we'll just make your presentation accounting for counselors. How would a counselor make decisions on a day-to-day basis? So we've got the who is a CE provider. You are. What do you present? Go to the rules if you want to be specific, or start with your expertise and then make it something relevant for counseling. And then what you've all been waiting for, which is the how. How do you do this? Well, you have to have something to host the stuff. You have to have a way to sell the stuff. And you have to have a way to present the stuff. All right. So again, if you're looking for things like, do I have to take attendance? Do I have to give a certificate? The only thing the rules say you have to do is you have to provide a certificate. Everything else is just best practices. So yes, take attendance. Yes, offer a syllabus. Yes, keep records, because everybody loses their records. Hopefully they won't after the new system is in place this summer. So I'm going to tell you, so for example, what I'm doing right now is a training. I'm offering it on Zoom, and which is already I'm one step ahead, because when I think of like hosting the stuff, and when I'm saying the stuff, I'm talking about what you're teaching, what you're presenting, right? What I just covered a minute ago, when you go to the rules, the topic that you're teaching, the words coming out of my mouth. So right now, Zoom is presenting my stuff. All right, this is how I am presenting to you. If you're doing it live, well, that's all right. You don't need another thing to present it, but you still have to have a way to capture it. So with Zoom, when I deliver this to you, it is getting recorded. I can see a little thing over in the corner here. It's blinking. So as I present it, so first thing to do if you want to be a CE provider, you have to have a way to present it that preserves it. I love Zoom, but that's not the only thing. There's something called Riverside that has even better quality. It's just not as accessible and well known, so I stick with Zoom. But if you're going to do something live, then you're going to present it and you're going to capture it. So you're going to capture that, set up an iPad, set up a phone, capture it. Okay, now you got it. And when I say it, I know this is hard, right? But you know it's sitting there as an MP4. MP4 means there's visual with it. MP3 means no visual, it's just audio. So you've got it sitting in an MP4, and you've still got to figure out a way to present it to your audience. So that's the first thing. How are you going to present it? Zoom is super easy to change into for instance, a YouTube link. I love YouTube. Google loves YouTube. So when I make this training, I'm presenting it through Zoom. Zoom gives me a link that I can then upload to YouTube. Of course, I edit it a little bit, and I'll talk about editing software too. And so we've got the presentation of the stuff. Then we've got the link, uploading it to YouTube. Then we have to have a way to host the stuff, right? Because this has already happened by the time someone sees it next week, right? You're a Step It Up member. You can access this in about a month. Well, it's got to sit somewhere, right? Think about it. If I just built a widget, where I host it is kind of like the shelf that I put the widget on. Well, that place where I'm setting it, it would be wonderful if that would also sell the stuff. So hosting the stuff and selling the stuff is key. So when you're Googling different things that host your stuff and then sell your stuff, here's what you're looking for. Step one, you want something, and I'm just going to go with YouTube because that's what I use. You're going to Google something that allows you to upload YouTube videos, and then it will sell a link to that YouTube video. All right, so when I do the training for you in a few weeks, where I really drill down on this, I'm going to show you how to use something called Podia. Podia, P-O-D as in David, I-A. Podia allows you to upload a YouTube video, and it allows you to sell a link to that YouTube video. Now, I am assuming everybody here is wanting to do CEs to sell. If you're doing CEs just to give away, you can turn the recording off or stop at YouTube. YouTube is going to be, you just give everybody the link to your YouTube, then you have given them a CE. But if you're trying to sell your CEs, then you're going to need something like Podia. And Podia is pretty cool because Podia will actually let you set it up like a website. And then you've got your CE website with all of the courses or CEs that you sell. So if you do a talk for the local PTA, you've got your camera set up, the camera records your MP4, you upload it to YouTube, you've got a handy dandy link, you put that link on YouTube and you sell it as a CE. It's a very seamless process. All right, so now we've got host the stuff, present the stuff, sell the stuff. Here's one thing that is so key for me. You have to have a way to automatically provide the certificate. Remember, I said in the rule, the one thing that they stuck to was that you must provide a certificate for the CE that you're giving. And you're amazing. Your CEs are going to be amazing. So you're not going to want to go back and by hand go through your email list and send everybody a certificate. Believe me, I've been there, done that. It's a pain, and email is unreliable. Our email is attracted to y'all's spam boxes. Like it's almost just like a bee to a honeycomb, or I don't know if that's a thing, but still, email is awful. So finding a way, and that's one thing that Podia does. It actually allows the user who has purchased your CE to also download the certificate. And because you guys are going to do best practices, you're going to have a syllabus, you may have a PDF PowerPoint, you may have handouts, you may have things that you want your person to have while they're watching your CE or at the end of your CE that you're presenting. Podia lets you include all of that. So when the person purchases the CE, they can click the link, remember, because Podia hosts your YouTube video. It takes them to YouTube. They watch all the stuff, but then Podia says, oh yeah, this person has purchased. So, hey, here's your certificate. You got the certificate in your hand, and Podia has now logged this person in, LOGGED, logged them in, so you have a record of their attendance. In fact, in Podia, you can even look to see if they, if you have a quiz, you can have a box that it checks and it shows that they took the quiz. Podia offers that as well. There's no requirement in the rules to offer a quiz. This summer, I'm going to be offering a CE with Kimberly Parker, and she's going to talk to y'all about how to become NBCC certified. And she's going to go into depth about how to become NBCC certified. They require a quiz. So if you want to be a CE provider who is NBCC certified, then you will need something, a host like Podia, where you can also have a quiz built in and the certificate built in. So the participant gets the certificate when they pass their quiz. So I'm going to pause it there and just take questions, because I know a lot of you, this may be old news and you may have something particular to your situation. So I'm going to hit the pause, but actually I'm going to keep it going because you guys might ask some really good questions. So with your permission, I'm going to let it keep recording. If it gets quiet, or if you don't feel comfortable, just put it in the chat and I can answer it that way. Hey, Sharon, I'm going to mute it while I cough. All right, go ahead. Yeah, what's your question?
So they're coming out with a new way to handle this. Will these CEUs be able to be used outside of Texas?
Well, so think of it this way. Texas can't say whether their driver's license is good in Maine.
Okay.
Right? Only Maine can say that. So the best bet if you're trying to get a national acceptance with your CE is to do something that has a national audience, which is NBCC, National Board Certified Counselor. So if you choose to become an NBCC certified CE provider, then I highly recommend listening to Kimberly Parker. Her, I'll tell you exactly when it's going to be. It's going to be in July 24th. Her training is going to be on how to become an NBCC provider.
So do you know if you have to have been an NBCC yourself? I didn't graduate from a school that was KCREP.
No, you don't have to be I'm not an NCE. I never took the NCE. I'm not nationally certified, but I am.
I took the NCE, but because of mobility issues and health, I ended up needing to transfer to a different school, and they wouldn't, Texas took all the information, all the trainings, but
yeah, you don't even worry
NBCC
about it.
wouldn't.
You're good to go. Yep. If you're not NBCC certified, you can still be an NBCC approved provider. What other questions? I was really happy to see people interested in this topic. And like I said, if you don't want to be on the recording, please put it in the chat. I've got my chat open too. Are a lot of y'all doing CEs, or you just want to dip your toe in the water? Is there like a step-by-step to become a CE provider? That's what this was, right? So I'm basically telling you, like, step one, you are a CE provider. Great question, by the way, because people ask that all the time. You are a CE provider just by wanting to be, as long as the topic you present is one of the topics in the rules. And again, like I said, it just has to be related to counseling for the most part. And if you're wanting to do something specific for ethics or cultural diversity, then you have to include it in a different way. But after that, it just becomes, how are you going to present it and how are you going to sell it? And if you're going to do it live, then do you want something to host it so you can sell it after it happens? That's when it comes down to the software. And yes, I'm stepping up members. You guys will get free. I mean, it's included. This is part of your membership. I am going to do a really in-depth training on how to use Podia. Podia is my software of choice just because, and you guys are familiar with it if you've bought anything from me, you know it feels like you've gone to my website. So that's how I sell things I've already presented, right? We call that asynchronous. So it's wonderful to provide a live CE. Like if you're at TCA, you're going to give a talk, Texas Counseling Association presentation. It's going to be a CE, it's going to be live. Well, they're going to capture it and they're going to find a way to host it and sell it in an asynchronous fashion. Why shouldn't you, right? So that's part of the whole deal too. Cheryl's asking, first of all, Tovar, did I answer your questions? Awesome. All right. And you're welcome. And then Cheryl, what about pricing? Well, it really depends. Here's what I've found. If you offer a CE that is mandatory in some way, so like, every supervisor has to have supervisor CEs, all of us have to have ethics CEs and cultural diversity CEs. So when, if you stick to that, then, you're going to have a pretty, I mean, if it's a good CE, then you could probably charge a little bit more. Also, if you're offering a CE for something's high demand, like EMDR or Gottman training or something related to, if you're working on conflict resolution and you market toward folks who work with couples, the tighter the niche, usually the higher the price. Really, just like anything else, it depends on the market. And I recommend you test it first before you ever create it, right? If you have a survey that you can send out, you guys, in the Facebook group, I sometimes will put out there, okay, what do you guys want me to do? What do you guys need, right? Like if you guys all told me you wanted CEs and I said, yeah, but I really feel like talking about backyard gardening, right? So that's not a popular topic. And if I tried to sell it, it would probably flop. I'm not a very good gardener. So really the price, same thing as if you were selling everything else, anything else, check the market, see what similar CEs are out there and what they're charging, and then you price it in a similar way. Jessica says, I always say no to TCA or others when they ask to record it. I say no because I typically charge for the same presentation elsewhere and would not want other people to be able to find it for free. Yeah, that's part of the thing. Yeah, Jessica, I totally get you. And that's the tricky part, right? Unless you want to give it again when you get home, and that's the same. TCA has it and they're offering it, and then you have it and you're offering it. But yeah, I totally get that. So I'll ask you guys, I mean, would you guys be interested in learning how to use Podia? And I'm going to put it in the chat. I'll spell it out, Podia, to host presentations that you have already given. Okay, good, 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 good. So that's because to me, that's where people get stuck, right? They've given a talk, they recorded it, and now it's sitting in a Google Drive somewhere or some kind of an external hard drive. And they're like, okay, what do I do? How do I get this out of my hard drive or off of my Google Drive into the storefront so that I can sell it? The other thing that I can talk about in the presentation is my editing software, which is called Camtasia. But I will tell you there is a much simpler software. And so we'll talk about that too, because I mean, so for example, with this, what I'm doing right now for you guys, if I was going to sell this, I would want to put like a little title at the front. I'd want to put something at the end of it that says, here is how to contact me. Because even though someone purchased it on your site, they may get a link somewhere on YouTube, or if you're using, who knows, whatever you're using to host it. Well, you want them to know how to contact you, and that's also best practices. Because with asynchronous, one of the problems with asynchronous is that it gets old, right? So, if I do a CE on the rules in a year, that's probably not going to be the thing anymore. Like what I'm presenting to you guys today is based on the March rule book, which is probably going to change in about a week. So that's just the nature of asynchronous stuff. So you want to be sure you have a way for people to contact you. Jessica says, I also like to learn how to send certificates of completion. Well, Podia does that of completion easily and ensure they meet all of the needed components for LPC and social work to use for credit. Well, that's the thing. I can tell you right now, it does not say, I'm going to read just for fun. I'm just going to read LPC. The council does not pre-evaluate or pre-approve continuing education providers or hours. It says licensees shall maintain proof of continuing education for 3 years. Does not say we as continuing education providers have to. And yeah, I was trying to be fancy and just show you. But the only thing it says that a CE provider, that's us, but we're talking to each other here, has to provide is a certificate. It does not say what has to be on that certificate. And that's why I was saying earlier, Jessica, if you want to drill down into like people who have really stringent requirements, it's in BCC, right? Like, so basics for a certificate, let's say you're doing ethics. Well, you want to put on your certificate clearly, like this is ethics, and you want to put that it's 1 hour for ethics. But does it say that in the rules? No.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you do a presentation of 1 hour for ethics, you can use that for your 1 hour credit too.
That is that's true to a point. So many, only so many, because I give a ton of presentations every year, but I can't do all of my hours toward my renewal. But many of them I can. Are we able to provide or offer or record the CE content in Spanish? Absolutely. Oh my gosh, 100%. Talk about a niche. Are you kidding me? That's wonderful. That's incredible. I mean, because think about how many people who are native Spanish speakers who have to sit through English CEs, English is their second language. Wouldn't it be wonderful to offer a CE completely in Spanish? And then you could, if you wanted to translate it, great. If you didn't, don't do it. I think that's wonderful. Going back to Jessica, how to send certificates of completion easily. I'm going to go back to, my email drama. Email is just awful. It's an awful way to do it, but it's really the only way to do it. And so what Podia does, it does it a couple of ways with an asynchronous CE. It will have basically a certificate that's just kind of generated that says, hey, good job, you finished this thing. Well, we also send an email, and Podia lets us do that with a certificate that has all of the information that we feel are best practices. Again, Texas doesn't require this, but we put, it's got our name, it's got our contact information. And then because this is where Podia is limited, and I'll talk to you guys about that more. I mean, maybe I'm getting too deep in the weeds here. You can get a specific certificate for the course you're teaching, or you can use more of a generic certificate. Again, Texas doesn't say what they're needing. They basically, I think like staff. If I'm pulling a certificate for an audit, I'm going to want to see that if the licensee says it's for ethics, I'm going to look at the certificate. I want to make sure that it says ethics on it. And if the licensee says it was 1 hour, then I want to make sure my certificate says 1 hour. All right, what other questions? let me ask you guys this. What's holding you back? Like, what is the biggest barrier right now? Because obviously you're here because you want to do it. Is it the hosting thing? Is it the editing thing? Is it delivering a CE automatically thing?
It's the marketing, getting people to see it and sign up for it.
Well, that's tricky. And I mean, I'll talk about that more, but the thing about CEs, it's kind of like broccoli. And not everybody likes broccoli. And we have to have it, but and I'll tell you this too, maybe not all of us can produce something super wonderful like this right now. I'm sitting here, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, I'm wiping my nose. I wouldn't sell this, right? That doesn't mean it needs to be super polished, but when I produce something that I sell, I'm checking for ums and ahs and breaks. And, if I say, I watch it again, I make sure that if it's unclear that I edit in correct, there's a lot that goes into an asynchronous thing that I sell, right? And so when you market that's a lot to keep in mind. So I would say I'm going to go stick with what I said initially, which is do your market research first. And the easiest way to do that is just Google it, right? If you're wanting to do a CE on backyard gardening for counselors, then Google it. And if you can't find one, that's either good or bad, right? It means one, you have found a niche that is going to make you $1 million, or you have found a niche that nobody wants, right? So that's the key. And I think a lot of people get discouraged. So that's Cheryl, you bring up something good. I would suggest you have several CEs batched and ready to go so that you can do a test, right? You can have have several and several different topics, see what people like. And then when you figure that out, make more of those, right? Don't make the other ones, make the ones that people like. Dr. Powell says marketing for sure, but I'm also clueless about how to use the appropriate technology to host it. So and I would say, that's the Podia that you guys are making this even clearer in my mind. I think that doing the training on Podia, how I use Podia to host and sell. Because remember, if you got something to host it but not sell it, that's YouTube. Just get a YouTube channel. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if you're going for views and you're hoping to somehow sell ads, great. Just do it YouTube and make your money through all the ads that YouTube will, give you once you hit 50 gazillion views. But if you're trying to host it in a way for your websites so you can provide a CE, right? Because again, if somebody's just watching your stuff, I mean, how are you going to give them a certificate? Then you're going to want to host it on something like Podia. Jessica says, I've done lots of trainings for school districts, TCA, TASCA, and community events, but I've never advertised and provided certificate surveys or evaluations. I was just asked to present to social workers and RNs this summer, and that got me excited. Oh, good. Yeah. So if you're providing CEs for somebody else, which is a huge weight off, right? If you go somewhere and the other people are going to be responsible for giving out the CEs, that's nice. That doesn't mean you can't record it, right? Set up an iPad. And then when you're delivering the CE for the other person, you are getting a great recording. Get one of those lavalier mics and then look at you. You've got your presentation. Or do like I do, sit here at your desk and just give the presentation either to a live audience or to nobody, right? And then you can take your time and hit pause and really, really make it polished. So I'm glad you're doing that, Jessica. I think that's awesome. All right, so look for this training. In fact, as soon as I hit stop on this, I'm going to get it scheduled. I'm going to do it over the summer, so probably June. And that way I can have you guys trained up on Podia before Kimberly Parker does her NBCC training on July 24th. Because that way, if you guys decide you want to be NBC certified as well, you're like, okay, I'm good to go because I know how to use Podia. I know how to edit. I know how to do all that. So any other questions for me about how to be a CE provider? So here's the software I'm going to put. So I talked about today, Podia. I talked about Camtasia. With marketing, there are a couple of things I want to, Podia does a good job, but I will go into more depth because you have to be able to email people. I use ConvertKit. Right? Because with Podia, you want to be able to email people and say, hey, it's starting soon, or hey, how'd you like it? Right? So ConvertKit is great because it plays nicely with Podia. And Zoom, which also plays nicely with Podia. And when I say that, that means when, like, let's say you sign up for Podia today, it's going to ask you integrations. And Zoom is one of the things you can integrate into Podia. And so that just means when you have like this right here, if I'm going to do a webinar, I can advertise it and I can sell it in Podia. So if you wanted to do a live CE, right, just like I'm doing now, you do it through Zoom. You go to Podia and you make it nice. Oh, I'm going to talk about Canva too. Sorry, I'm sidetracking myself. If you don't know what Canva is, right, because you want to make it look nice, you're going to say, you're going to set up a storefront. You're going to make a nice Canva that says super good, great webinar. And you're going to sell tickets, let's say for $25 a ticket. And embedded in that store shelf is the Zoom link, right? And that person has to log into their account and get the Zoom link. Because again, it's a nightmare if you're going to sell a bunch of tickets, right, on Eventbrite or something like that, which I think you probably could use Eventbrite. I don't know much about that. But then later on, you got to give everybody the Zoom link. Again, I know this from experience. I've done that. I've sold things on my website. Then I've had to go through the email list and send every single person the Zoom link when it's time to show up. So something like Podia, and it doesn't have to be Podia. That's just what I teach because that's what I use. But when I say it integrates nicely, it means that you're going to advertise through it. You're going to deliver the presentation through it. You're going to communicate through it. You're going to give them a certificate through it, right? And then when that presentation is given, the webinar has happened, you go to Zoom and there's your handy dandy link. And you're going to be able to put that back on Podia, right? You had it on Podia as a webinar, but now you're going to put it on Podia as an asynchronous CE. This was a live one. This is not. All right, any other questions? Okay, question is, does Podia, could it work to record? So Podia doesn't record. So when we talk about a thing, remember you have to have a thing to host the stuff and sell the stuff and present the stuff. Podia is how you host it and sell it. You still need something else to present it. And that's why I say Zoom, or some people use Riverside. You have to have some way to capture that. So like if I was using my phone, just my phone, and I got that super, super long MP4 link, I'd have to get a way to put that onto Podia in order to sell it. So with a podcasts, they do give you a link, and I guess you could conceivably sell that on Podia. But again, you're having to pick the link up over here, and you're having to put it onto Podia. There probably is software out there that you can present it. Like if Zoom had a store, right? And it just let me, here I am recording my thing. And then I was able to sell it right away. It was my presenting thing and my selling thing. That might be kind of neat, but I'm not aware of any software that does that. Lori wants to know, what would you estimate to be the average cost of these platforms per month? Well, that's the fun part. They all kind of nickel and dime you. So you could start with, $29.99 or, whatever that rate is. But chances are And that might be great if you were just going to start off selling 1 or 2 CEs. And I do recommend that. I would start off with a monthly plan and do a low, very bare minimum plan. Do as much as you can with free stuff like YouTube. And I know Zoom isn't free, but I think there is a free plan. So, I would start off with the bare minimum. I do not spend $19.99 a month. I spend more than that because I have, sometimes they also have it on the number of users. So I guess let me digress a minute. I will talk, I'm going to make a note. There is a difference between CE software that is focused on training like your corporation. Like there's CE software out there that's like, we only charge $10 per user. Well, that's for like a huge corporation where they're putting people in classrooms teaching them how to run invoices. That's not what you want, because $10 per user, that's costing you more than you're making. So I will talk about that more, but it's something that I think people get confused about a lot. So they get into this really robust software that has all these bells and whistles that, you can gamify it and all these things. And it's about, 80, 90, $300 a month, let's say, or more. And you don't need all that. What I'm trying to help you guys understand is really all you need is a way to present it, a way to host it, and a way to sell it so that you're not having to hand out certificates individually. Just very, very, very basic. So let me make a note. We are going to talk about that difference between corporate CE stuff and you guys. I think Kajabi is another one that may be a lot like Podia, but I don't know much about that. But yeah, definitely think about this adding at least another $100 probably to your monthly budget, maybe more. But if it adds more than $100 to your monthly budget, you're probably spending too much at first. What would be wonderful when I do this training is if you guys have started something, let me take a look at it. I'm happy to take a look and just kind of see what you've started to do and let you know if there's an easier way to do it. I mean, you may teach me something. You may show me that there's something that you're doing that I can learn from. But it really is, it shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be so hard that you guys would get stopped. Most people stop doing CEs because they've picked a niche that just doesn't make any money. Right? If you're doing something that there's just no great demand for. Okay, what else? All right, you guys all get the emails, I'm assuming. So check your email, and I will put out the dates for the webinars this summer. Again, just going to dive, I mean, we did 45 minutes on this today, and I didn't even screen share. So when I do the training, I will show you how to do these things. I will use screen share, and I'll make sure that it's very, very clear how all of this stuff fits together. And cost, what I'll do is you'll have the links to stuff so you guys can check the cost yourself too. I mean, like I said, I think Zoom has a free plan. So thank you, Dr. Powell. I appreciate you. Oh, yes. And I have been promoted to grandma, and I love it. She rolled over today, BT dubs. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you in a few weeks when we dive into this, okay? See ya. Ready to stop giving away your best work for free? Subscribe for more how-to trainings like this, and when you're ready to go deeper, sign up for the Step It Up membership. You'll get exclusive intensive trainings and live support to offer your own CEs with confidence.